Hello and welcome to presentation 2 in our series of tutorials for setting up and using the eQATrace Marine application. eQATrace Marine is a purpose-built seafood traceability application for use by the UK seafood industry. To help reduce user costs, the application has been built to run on the Microsoft Access 2003 platform. This presentation assumes the viewer has already seen presentation 1 in this series. If not, it is recommended the viewer checks out this presentation first. The aim of this presentation is to show users how to set up unique raw material and finished product codes within the system. Once these codes have been set up, they can be used to return raw material and finished product attributes so that forms, reports and labels can be easily populated with the correct data just by selecting the relevant code from a drop-down list. This will all become clearer as I work through a proper code setup. The code I will set up in this instance will be for 3 to 4 kilo whole cod. To set up our first raw material code, we need to first click the Setup Raw Material Code button. If you want to define a new code, which we do in this case, click Yes. If we wanted to edit an existing code, we would have clicked No at this point. If we did click No, we would be prompted to enter the code which we wanted to edit, and an editable form would open with that code's details already loaded. Whether you're defining a new raw material code or editing an existing one, type in your user password when prompted and press return. Because we click Yes, the system shows the Add Raw Material Definition form. As you can see, this form is empty and requires us to input code details from scratch. If a coding system is not already in place, a decision will need to be made as to what general form raw material codes will take. As it is a raw material code, it is probably a good idea to begin with an R character, as it will make it easier to instantly identify the code as a raw material code. We really ought to build the rest of the code so it can easily be deduced roughly what the code relates to. In this case, I will put in the code RWHCD34. to indicate that this code relates to raw, denoted by the R, whole, denoted by the WH of the word whole, CD, taking the first and last character of the name of the fish, cod in this case, and finally 34, indicating it relates to fish 3 to 4 kilos in size. With the code taken care of, all we then have to do is build up the list of attributes that we want to list against that code. Most of the form should be fairly explanatory, however the 15-column matrix might need some more explanation. Let's complete some general details about this particular raw material first. I'll first type in the code RWHCD34. RWHCD34 and press return. Type in the fish species, cod in this case, and press return. Then type in the size weight field, and we're going to put 3-4 kg. The country of origin, the region of origin, I'm going to put in Atlantic. This is Atlantic cod. Atlantic cod. Okay. Right. The final 5 fields, as you can see, are drop-down fields. And if you actually look in them, you can see that you have options. In the quality field, you've got the options of superior, ordinary, production, grade E, grade A and grade B. Choose whichever option that you want. In this case, we're going to choose superior grade. The condition field, we're going to choose whole because it's a whole fish that we're dealing with. The conservation, we're going to go for fresh iced in this case. Catch method, trawl caught, and the wild or found, we're going to choose wild cod. Press return. Right, as you can see, we're now on the first parameter name field of the 15-column matrix. Getting back to this 15-column matrix, when raw fish is brought in from external sources, a quick check should be made at the point of intake to make sure the raw material is of the quality expected. The matrix area allows the user to define up to 15 separate parameters for check-in. The topmost field is for the name of the parameter, so if you want your intake personnel to check the temperature of the fish on arrival, you could make the first parameter name temp to indicate that you want the user to check the temperature. So we'll type in temp there. The next field down is for setting the units related to that parameter. In the case of temperature, it would probably be in degrees centigrade, so we will type deg.C here. Deg.C. Beneath that is the lower tolerance field, so if we require our fish to be between 0 and 4 degrees, we would keep the 0 here and press return on that. The field beneath that is for the upper tolerance, which would be 4 in this case. Press 4, return, and the sample size. The lowest field in the column is for sample size. If you require intake to check 3 boxes, for instance, across the load, just type 3 boxes in here. 3 boxes, and return. I'll now speed up and populate the rest of the form for this code and explain each heading and setting I have made. As you can see, the second parameter is now listed as size with a lower tolerance of 2.7 kilos and an upper tolerance of 4.3 kilos when averaged over a sample of 5 fish. The third parameter is listed as eyes, TORI, indicating the condition of the eyes should be checked and scored against the TORI scoring system, and a sample of 5 fish should be checked in all. The 4th to 8 parameters indicate the 5 fish sample should also be checked and scored against the TORI scoring system for texture, flesh and belly flaps, kidney and blood, gill colour and gill odour. Bear in mind it's a good idea to make parameter naming labels as short as possible because space is limited, hence the use of temp or temperature. In general, the headings for any form or report that use this data will be the same as whatever you type in here. Moving swiftly on, because we have now set up a unique raw material code for this product, we could now set up a similar raw material using the data already input. For instance, say we now wanted to define a code for 5 to 6 kilo whole cod. It would be good if we could copy the code for 3 to 4 whole cod and then change the code and weight tolerances, etc. to suit. With eQATrace Marine, this is very easy. Simply click the button marked X next to the Setup Raw Material code button. Let's just show you that, and that's this one here. Okay, and put in your password when prompted. Press return. Okay, you're then prompted to for your the code you want to copy. In this case, we want to copy the one we just put in, which is RWHCD34 or RWHCD34. That's right. And we want to copy it to RWHCD56 and press return. As you can see, the raw material definition form will then appear loaded with the new code ready for editing. To finish defining the new code, simply change the size field to 5 to 6 kilos. That's this field here. Let's literally go into it and change it to 5-6 and press return. And the lowest, and then we need to do the lower size parameter from 2.7 to 4.7 kilos, and the upper tolerance parameter from 4.3 kilos to 6.3 kilos. Okay, and that's it. That is that particular code then set up. So you now have your 2 codes set up. Right, I can quickly show you the new code how the new code data is used by clicking the Enter Raw QA Check button here, typing in my password, press return. That opens up your raw material intake form. This is the form that a raw material QA would use when booking in products coming in over a loading bay, for instance. So what you need to do then is to click on the raw material code drop down, and that will actually expose a list of codes that you have on stock, raw material codes. In this case we've got the two that we put in, and we can choose either one of these. We'll choose the 5 to 6 in this case. As you can see, the form changes to basically become a form for putting in your raw material intake data. But that's for another presentation, really. Setting up pack product code, let's just shut that down. Setting up pack product code is equally as simple. All you do is use the setup pack product code button instead of the setup raw material code button, You go through the yes no thing again to say that you're actually putting in a new code, so we'll click yes. Type in your password, and you're presented with a screen for putting your pack product definitions in there. And again, it's all the same as the raw material code, other than the fact that it's a pack code, and you will probably put a P or an F for a finished product or a pack product code, so that you can identify them quickly. Okay. Right, in our next presentation, let's just shut that down. In our next presentation, I'll show you how to enter raw material and finished product QA checks using these two buttons here, and generate labels. Thanks for listening. This concludes presentation 2.